This is the Nightwolf howling at you, and today we're going to take a look at the Masters of the Universe X ThunderCats Tygra figure, the heroic Thundarian scientist. This is part of the second wave, and he's one of the ones that did not get reissued for the third wave. If we turn to the back of the box, it says, "The noble scientist Tygra discovers that Third Eternia is home to many wonders, both good and evil." By the way, I'd like to point out it's good and evil, not good and bad. Like, like maybe he found some new poison ivy. That would be bad. I guess evil is, Panther Man. Panther Man, Panther. If anybody gets that joke, please say something. Anyway, we have Tygra, the heroic Thundarian scientist, and you can put on the Thunder helmet. I like that the Thunder helmet kind of reminds me of a combination of the Mandalorians and the clones from the Clone Wars for Star Wars. At least in that image it does. As part of this wave, we have He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Tygra, this guy, the heroic Thundarian scientist, which again, I'm just going to say I don't remember him being a scientist, but okay. If anybody knows what episodes he was doing scientisty stuff, please let me know in the comments below also. And Panthro, the heroic Thundarian barbarian battlemaster. I just threw barbarian in there for the heck of it. Well, let's open him up, shall we? And let's see if I can not cut the comic book this time. So, for the first time ever, I think in this line, or well, at least in this wave, the comic is in one piece. Our little white sheet that shows us how to turn them from Thundarian to Eternian. And our little mini comic, The Power Sword of Omens. Let's see how I can do this one this time. And thusly, Chitara finds Tygra with He-Man and Panthro bringing up the rear. Probably looking at her rear. And so He-Man picks up Tygra so they can try to take him out of there, even though he's just barely alive. Meanwhile, back on the other side of the Black Pyramid, we have Lion-O and Battle-Cat also finding Tygra trapped in the sarcophagus of evil. Tygra warns Lion-O that it's a trap, and Skell-Ra. But hark, it's too late. Even as Lion-O tries to tell them what's going on, the fake Tygra steals the power sword from He-Man and transforms his decayed form into Skell-Ra, the ever-living. And He-Man kind of mocks him anyway, because why not? Although he looks huge there, doesn't he? Of course, even on the figures, I actually think that, I think He-Man, the top of He-Man's head only comes to Skell-Ra's chest. Too bad Skell-Ra's not an Amazonian woman with that kind of eyesight, eyeline. And I don't know, I don't understand why Skell-Ra is calling out by the ancient evil of Grayskull, I smite you from existence. Like, what ancient evil in Grayskull? Like, well, Grayskull may not necessarily have been fully good when you get right down to it. I don't think there's a lot of evil in there. It was basically just a castle that was a border gate to keep the horde out of the rest of the lands. But hey, as we go on, a fight ensues. A weakened Tygra uses his whip to snag the power sword from Skell-Ra, sending it to Lion-O, who combines them together into the Power Sword of Omens. And then Lion-O kills Skell-Ra by slicing him in half at the abdomen, which actually you could recreate that scene with these figures. Hey, anybody who does the custom 3D printing things, like, go ahead and make the bloody rip apart corpse part there to stick in the middle of Skell-Ra. That'd be awesome. And thus our adventure ends. As the eye of Thundara fills the Eternian sky, the universe can rest easy knowing that on this day evil has finally been vanquished. And then we have the back of the comic, who cares? So let's go ahead and take a look at our Tygra figure. He is in his Eternian garb. First up, though, I do want to mention the whip here. Apparently, all their money went into creating the whip because it actually has a string in it. And these are... Oh, the bolos are actually... they did a really good job on this. I'm just going to straight out say, because I thought that this was also string, but no, it's actually plastic. But they duplicated the look of the actual string here really well. So again, this is one of those times when I'm definitely going to have to give the sculptor some props. Though they did do some shoddy paint job there on the ends. But that's not the sculptor's fault. Yeah, that actually turned out really nice. I honestly was thinking that they had just like stiffened the string itself, but no, it actually is plastic up there. The handle is a clear plastic also. We can whip it all around and do the hokey pokey. So yeah, I'm just going to say the best part of this figure thus far is the amount of work that they put into creating his weapon. So we have our Eternian form of Tygra here. I do like that the chest piece actually has the symbol down there on his belt there. That looks pretty cool. Like, I'm not a big fan of the way the armor looks, but they put some thought into it, you know? He's also got a place to store a sword. That just isn't going to work for the whip at all. And they probably should have considered, like, adding a belt loop or something. Or, you know, they could have given us a wound up whip to put on his side maybe. Or, I guess, just the handle, I think, in Tygra's case. Oh, yeah. Because Tygra's whip would pull into itself. So you would just see the handle and the 3 balls at the end. So that's what they should have given us and had a place to actually connect it back here instead of having the little sword hole. That sounds dirty. We're getting into Yahweh territory there. Some of this armor feels kind of weird to me, though. Not going to lie. So let's go ahead and let's see how the Eternian armor affects articulation. Because right now, this shoulder pauldron is actually part of this armor. It does not appear to be a separate piece that goes onto his arm. So that's going to hinder this bit here for sure. Also, look at that. The arm pads are actually a separate piece here too. That's interesting. Is that something you're supposed to remove for... Well, the arm pads stay in place when you transform him into a Thundarian. So let's go ahead and take a look at the articulation. The helmet's a pain in the ass to get on, and it now reminds me more of a Predator than of either one of the things I mentioned before. We can turn the head all around. The fangs do run into the armor quite a bit on the bottom of the mask. You can kind of wobble his head down and up, so you can look down a little bit, look up a little bit, look to the side, nod back and forth. On his right arm, we can raise it up about that much before the pauldron takes effect. That much in the back. And off to the side, we can get a clear all the way over, however. The other side, of course, we can spin all around as per normal. We have a single joint in the elbow. Of course, the elbow pad thing is interfering with it a little bit. That was to be expected. It seems very difficult to get it all the way in place, however. And there is, of course, the pin spin there. Oh, for f***'s sake. What are they using for this black paint here? It's not set on him either. Like, with Panthro, I thought that the paint not setting was just due to, like, it got, with the equipment was put on there while it was still wet, so it never had a chance to dry. But this is out in the open. It should be dry. There is something wrong with the black paint that they're using on these figures. I'm straight out saying that now. So we get a full spin at the wrist. And he's got the in and out hinge on there, though the bracer there does interfere with that quite a bit. We've got a spin at the waist. We can kick, we can kick up that far. And we can only kick back that far. We can bend at the knee, less than 90, but there is a pin in there so you can spin the knee. We have the boot cut. And we have the hinge on the foot and a spin. So I'm trying to think. I don't think Chitara and Lion-O didn't have a whole lot of black on them except for Lion-O's ThunderCat symbol. So I just checked and none of the black on those ones is sticky. So I don't know if they used a different paint or if they used something different to set it on this wave of figures, but that is not a good look. Let me see. I'm not feeling any stickiness from the black on his head, but on his forearms, yes. And there's even a little bit here on the symbol there. Well, let's go ahead and turn him into his Thundarian form. I'm shaking up the entire stage here. That's the left one. Again, I'm going to reiterate my one complaint about these figures, and that is that they should have just done a full boot. I don't know how much money they saved by doing it this way, but it is a pain in the ass. Also, Tygra's paint on his feet just looks awful. It's actually worse over here, I think, where you can really see the blue coming through from his from the mold. Yeah, okay, the paint up here is set. Just not on his arms and his logo. By the way, this was just a coincidence that I took that arm off in order to do this. I did not plan that. And you can see, like, here we go. Again, more of that black came off onto my fingers. Fee does a lot of paint stuff, so maybe I'll see if she's got something to help set this. Man, Tygra here does not want to stand up either. Let's try putting this on this way. If he's back heavy, then we'll have his feet coming off the end. But there we have Tygra in his Eternian form. This is another one where I've only bought the one version of him because I don't know if I'm going to display this guy in his Eternian form. Unfortunately, I'm just going to say this doesn't line up very well, and the two colors of plastic are just off enough to just kind of be a little off-putting, at least to me. So for Tygra's head sculpt here, I think they did a pretty good job of it, although it's kind of hard to tell if that's paint slop around the nose or if that's how it's supposed to look. In fact, I'm going more with paint slop. I can't remember if Tygra actually has like that streak in his nose or if that's just they totally screwed that up. I'm just going to straight out say that. I don't know. But if you know, please comment. But what I do know is that that is not even on him. So there's that issue right there. But otherwise, I think the head design looks pretty good. What's interesting to note, though, with this figure, you can repaint Tygra into Bengali. So you could have, instead of giving us just a reissue of Panthro and Lion-O, you could have actually just made some slightly additional equipment and given us Bengali to go along with this, you know, in this wave. Because I want to say, besides the fact that Bengali and Tygra have like the same head, there's not much difference. So yeah, Eternian or Slenderian, Tygra does look good. Again, the problem is the paint here is not set. And I'm going to have to figure out something to help set that because I don't want to keep on getting black marks on me whenever I try to do anything with him. So besides the fact that you could have repainted Tygra here into Bengali and gotten away with creating another new figure pretty easily with this line, they also could have done him in clear plastic in order to create his invisible form. Like they could have gone straight transparent, clear white plastic, or they could have done like an orange or whatever. I guess really, unlike Skeletor where you see most of his naked torso, you don't really get that with Tygra here, so you probably would have to just go 100% clear with him. But that would have been fine. That would have made more sense than just a straight repaint of Panthro and Lion-O, honestly. So I don't know what Mattel is thinking with their decisions on this sort of thing, but they're making the wrong ones in my opinion. But why don't you guys tell me what you think about that? Aside from that, Tygra's Eternian form looks good. I don't understand what is going on with that black paint they're using, that it's not setting on parts. In the case of Tygra here, it could partially be because it's on top of another paint, but that shouldn't happen. And if that does happen, you need a setting powder for it. And I know they make setting powders for paints and stuff and inks because I had to do that back when I was in college and I was learning how to run a printing press, like an old time printing press kind of thing. So those things exist, and I don't know why they didn't use them on here. Well, they did just to save money. But that's just awful. Like, I don't like this whole thing with getting all this crap on my fingers all the time I try to do stuff with these figures. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess you could say, with Tygra, it's on his arms that this is happening. His head and his neckline area seems to be fine. But you still need to put your fingers on those spots kind of when you're trying to pull the fist out. So there's that issue. I also kind of feel like Tygra's hands seem like they're a little... Both of his hands feel like they're like a little too small-ish. I mean, it does appear that he's got his fingernails, but they really remind me of that bad hand I got with Lion-O, if you might recall, where the fingers were cut out. You'd think they would have just used the same hands that they used on Lion-O because these are the ThunderCats. They all basically have claws on their hands. So it's kind of weird to me that they didn't just reuse Lion-O's hands on him, unless, of course, both of these hands are screwed up, which, let's be honest, that is also a possibility with this line of toys. But why don't you guys let me know what you think in the comments below about this figure. Are you impressed with him or not? I definitely will be displaying him in his Thundarian form. Maybe I will do a second one later if it goes on clearance or something and pick up to display in his Eternian form. But right now, it's not terrible. His Eternian form is not terrible. It's definitely better than Panthro's. But it's also kind of cheesy looking in my opinion. And I'm not a big fan of it. It's just kind of wild to me that the designers can finally make ThunderCats figures and they're just screwing up so bad. But at least they all look good in their ThunderCats form so far, minus the hands on this guy. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to whip that like button. And if you want to hear more of my nonsense in the future, please subscribe. I thank you for watching. Peace and love.